Welcome back. Today I want to give you another system of thought, which is Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. And there's a book by the same title. I'll have a link down below if you'd like to check it out. I strongly recommend it. But I'm going to give you the system very simply and easily today. What happens when you stack up more and more of these systems of thought is you find in every situation that you have a huge consortium of tools at your disposal and different ways to think about a problem. And that becomes very useful, and you become a systems thinker. It makes you very mentally flexible, so you don't become rigid and stuck in one point of view. So that's the value of all of these different systems that I present here to you. And so I hope you love that, because I really do. I really see the value in it. So nonviolent communication is really magical. And the more primal you get to the deep communication, the more primal the communication becomes, the better it works. And I have Timothy to thank for that. So Timothy, if you're watching this, it's because of you that you helped me understand the real core of nonviolent communication. As humans, we make our communication very fancy, very elaborate, very complicated. But underneath all of that complication, there's a primal base. And that's what we're really needing to get through to the other person. And when you can begin to recognize that primal need inside of the communication, you will be much better at actually understanding other people and making them feel heard. And that's extremely valuable to get through your daily life and maintain your peace. Because if you're trying to figure out this hugely complicated communication in your workplace or with your family, then it's going to eat away at your peace. So if you can understand the core of what the person is trying to say to you, it will make your life much more simple and easy and understandable. So let's get into it. So nonviolent communication, very simply, is 4 steps. We're going to use these steps to peel the onion of what is really being communicated. NVC states that the first level of communication is going to be an observation. Well, isn't it a pretty day? It's raining. The sun is out. It's very cloudy. All of these are observations, right? How is the weather? Look at the weather. How's the weather where you're at? It's the first level of communication, right? And once we get under that second level of communication is, how are you feeling today? That's the second level. Let me get into your heart. Let me know about you. How are you feeling in your heart? What is coming up for you? How are you feeling? That's the second level of communication. And so now we're really getting a little more inside, aren't we? With our conversation with the other person. We're not just observing the outside, which is so easy, right? We're actually diving inside and asking a personal question. How do you feel today? What are you feeling right now? What will transpire in a communication is that behind the observation and behind the feelings, there is a need. And this is the core of it. There's always a need. So when somebody is bringing something up to you, there's a need from inside of them, right? I need something and I need to get it through to other people. And the outside shell of that communication might be very complicated and fancy, but that internal kernel of need will always be very primal and very simple. I discovered NVC, Nonviolent Communication, while I was in the ashram, and it was a godsend because I was dealing with monks all the time. You think, oh, that would be great. but every different monk had his own agenda and might counsel me in a slightly different way. And it was just overwhelming because I was dealing with multiple ways that people wanted me to be. Nonviolent communication really allowed me to get inside what the different monks were trying to tell me. And so I remember one in particular. He was my supervisor, and he came up to me and he seemed very flustered. And he said he had just found out that I'd watched two movies. So I had watched one movie with the postulants, and then I'd watched another movie with the novices, because I had just become a novice, but I was still living with the postulants. And so I'd watched two movies. I didn't really particularly care for either, as I recall, but I can't even remember what the movie was. But he was very upset that I had dared to watch two movies, right? And so he came up to me, he's a little frustrated, and he started telling me about this, and I'm like, so I started to peel the onion, right? I said, so you feel angry because I watched two movies? He goes, oh, no, I'm not angry. I'm not angry at all. I'm not angry. No. I am concerned. And I said, so you are concerned because I watched two movies? Yes, I am concerned. I am concerned about you and your welfare. So you need me to be okay, I said. So now we're getting to the need. You need me to be okay and to keep my spiritual life straight. He goes, yes, that's it. And that's the connection. You see, you got to the actual need, and it will create this spark, and the person will just light up like a Christmas tree. And he goes, yes, that's it. That's exactly what I want for you. I want you to be okay and to keep your spiritual life straight. And I said, wow, well, that really touches my heart, and thank you so much. And I will keep my spiritual life straight. And in the future, I probably won't watch two movies back to back. Thank you so much for your counsel. And that was it. The communication was done. And you could see he kind of wanted to keep going with the lecture, but he couldn't, because it just felt complete. The whole thing was complete. It's just kind of, okay. And he left. And so it turned what would have been a very long lecture and stern, and I've got to get through your thick head, this kind of anger and frustration that was oriented to me from the beginning, and it completely wiped it out because we got to the need. And it also caused him to face his own feelings, which he wasn't. He wasn't facing them. He was projecting them out onto me. And so in that moment, it just crystallized for me that nonviolent communication is just magical in this understanding. So the first thing you do when somebody's communicating with you is you pick up on the feeling. So you're feeling this way, and then you connect it to the need. You can connect it to the observation if you want, like I did. I said, you're feeling upset because I watched two movies. Watching two movies is the observation. The feeling was the anger. And then we got down to the need. So first I said, so you're feeling angry because I watched two movies. And then I said, because you need me to be okay and keep my spiritual life straight. And that's the deep communication. Now we're actually at the root of it, right? Before that, we were just dancing around the edges. We were not really living in the core of the communication. But when I said that, we suddenly zeroed in on the core of the communication. And that's what makes it magical. So if you can figure out what those four things are when somebody's communicating to you, and feed them back, most importantly, feed back the need or request the need. So you say, so you're feeling this because of this, because you need what? What do you need? Well, I need peace. And somebody will be very complicated when they answer you, usually. They will say, well, I need you, it will be an outward shell of the real core need. So if I had asked that monk, what is your need? He might have said something like, I need you to behave properly, or I need you to conform to the strictures of the monastic rules, which don't have any rule about two movies, by the way. It was just something that he felt, right? It was something that he intuited that it was too much for me, and I was transitioning into a novice, and I was probably going to go crazy because now my life was not going to be as strict. And that was his concern, right? We can say it in a fancy way or we can say it in a primal way. And the primal way is that you are concerned about me and my spiritual welfare and you want me to keep my spiritual life straight. That was the core. Rather than making it fancy and you want me to apply by the rules. That was not a real need. The real need was his concern for me, you see. Talking about the rules would actually put us back in observation. So I observed that you watched two movies, and I also observe that there's a rule that you shouldn't watch two movies. There wasn't a rule, but that would put us back in observation. We're not even at the level of feeling. We're not being honest about how we actually feel about this. And we're certainly not talking about a deep, core, primal need. If you can get down to that core and you can request it, and so the person will say something fancy. What do you need? What do you really need behind this feeling? What is the need behind this feeling? Whatever you are feeling, what is the need behind it? And if you can dive into that need with the person and really understand what the need is, then you can move to the fourth step, which is to make a request. If I'm talking with my daughter when she's older and I say, you know what, I observed that you did not take out the trash, and I know that it's one of your chores to take out the trash, and that's how we all work as a family. We each have chores that we do. And so I'm feeling frustrated because I asked you to do this, you know it's your job to do this, and yet you're not taking out the trash. And so my need behind that frustration is to have you do your chores so that we can all be one responsible family and work together in care and responsibility. And so I make a request. Can you please then take out the trash? That's how you use nonviolent communication to communicate with your kids or to communicate with anyone. When you make the request, the person does not have to do it. And when somebody makes a request of you, you do not have to do it, but you can entertain it. And that's the whole process of nonviolent communication. And when somebody really tells us how they are actually feeling, and when they tell us what they actually need behind that feeling, and when they tell us the request, it's very easy to go ahead and do it because we feel inclined to help them, because now we've actually connected. Our understanding from the heart center has actually connected with that other person. We actually know where they're at, what they're going through, and what their actual need is. As you move through life and you hear complicated outward shell of observation, and underneath that you see some feelings, always remember the core is going to be that primal need: respect, love, care. These are really the three primal needs. There's not a lot of other needs: respect, care, consideration, attention. Needs are very simple. They're very, very primal. And so these are the most common needs that we might find. But whatever needs you find out there, remember they're going to be very primal. They're going to make sense in a very core way. And that's going to give you an insight into where the person is and what they need. And you can respond so easily to that core. It's hard to respond to the fancy outward shell of communication, but if you can get to that need, you'll be getting to the core of what they actually want in this moment. And now you can more easily give it on a regular basis. It's so easy to give attention or to give care or to give respect when we know somebody, this is what they really need at this moment. And we can be a little more careful with them. And we can also express our own needs this way. You know what? I'm feeling frustrated because I have this need. You know what? I'm feeling let down because I have this need, you know. You know what? I'm feeling impatient because I have this need. And when you communicate that way and then you give a request, the other person has the chance to really dive in and connect with you. See what you're feeling and see what the deep down need is. So we're going into the heart, we're going into the gut. What is that need down there in the gut? That primal need that's driving the feeling, the reflexive feeling. So the feeling is just a covering. It's that primal need. And communicating at this level is just so simple and magical and quick because you connect so deeply. So I hope you'll try that out. I hope you'll see how it rolls out for you, and maybe pick up the book and read it. Marshall Rosenberg does an amazing presentation. Just remember, it's the core. It's the primal need. That's the real core of the communication. And it will transform your conversations with people. When you start asking people, so how are you feeling about this? Okay, now what is the need behind that feeling? The primal core, simply stated need. It's magical. It's just really magical. So I hope you love this. I hope you adopt this as a tool and put it in your back pocket. And if you did, be sure to hit that bell down below so I can see all of you next time.